Fans, my name is Richie. Bridges speaks with the New York Knicks for the first time. This is a good day, ladies and gentlemen. We have Bridges in the Knicks facility speak to the media for the first time as a member of the New York Knicks. In this live show, I want to break down my biggest takeaways and just share my excitement, share my thoughts of what Bridges had to say and what Knicks fans should look forward to the most when it comes down to Bridges being your newest member of the New York Knicks family. Folks, let me know your thoughts in the chat right now. We're live right now on Bleacher Report. We're live right now on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. A trio of live shows. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday morning, going into the afternoon in just a few moments. Again, welcome to the show, folks. My name is Richie from Knicks Media. Now, we've been waiting for this moment. Okay, then the trade went down just a week and a half ago or so, and now Bridges officially announces the jersey he will be wearing, by the way. He will be wearing number 1. All right, Bridges will be officially rocking number 1 for the New York Knicks. I know Knicks fans are going to love this. I think number 1 looks beautiful on Bridges, as you see from this graphic here from SNY. I am a big fan of this number for Bridges for a lot of different reasons. Now, I was going to assume that he was going to go with his college number in 25 like he was in Phoenix with Villanova because of the Nova boys and all that, but he'll be rocking that number 1. I cannot complain. I think that is a absolute awesome number for Bridges to rock in his first 2 seasons with the New York Knicks. Now, he had a lot of interesting quotes, a lot of interesting things to say. My biggest takeaways before we get into what he had to say and go into the audio and watch these clips is, first of all, he thought he was going to be a Knick back in 2018, and the Knicks fumbled the bag there. We all know that, okay? Knicks fans everywhere wanted Bridges in that 2018 draft, and they decided to go with Kevin Knox. And not only Knicks fans thought that Bridges was going to be a Knick, but Mikal Bridges himself thought he was going to be a New York Knick in that 2018 draft with the 9th overall pick. So I thought that was very interesting that Bridges said that not once, but twice, referencing, yeah, I love MSG. I thought I was going to play here back in 2018. I thought the Knicks were going to draft me. There's a viral photo of Bridges when he worked out with the New York Knicks back in the pre-draft process in the 2018 draft, wearing a Knicks shirt in the Knicks facility, talking to the New York media, and now he's officially a member of the New York Knicks 6 years later. Okay, so Bridges wanted to be here from the get-go, from the beginning. And he was also asked a lot of questions about how did it feel to be in Brooklyn while all your friends are over there, the crosstown rivals in the New York Knicks, and they're succeeding while the Nets are not. I thought it was interesting. He's like, I was not rooting for the Knicks. I was not rooting for Brunson and Josh Hart or Dante because he knows that they're going to always not let him hear it. You know, he used the word that Josh Hart and the boys like to play a lot, meaning they like to play around. They like to make jokes. We know Josh Hart is one of the funniest players in the NBA, and he would not let Mikal Bridges off the hook with the Knicks sweeping the Nets last year and the Knicks just basically being a good basketball team last year while the Brooklyn Nets weren't. But another big thing I took away from it was Bridges felt a need to really harp on the fact, and you can tell from his Instagram post that he made saying goodbye to the Brooklyn Nets organization. He loved it there. He loved the relationships he built there, and he felt like he let the city of Brooklyn down. He let the Brooklyn Nets organization and their fans down because he did not live up to the expectations. He did not have a good season individually last year in his standards, and of course the Brooklyn Nets did not have a good season as well. And I thought that it was interesting that he mentioned that he was not ready and he's never been able to, go to a team to be the number 1 guy, and he had 2 defenders having to match up against him, right? When there would be a pick and roll and Bridges would be the primary ball handler in the Brooklyn Nets organization, opposing defenses would zero in on him defensively. He's the guy that he had to shut down, so they will be sending double teams his way. Bridges never got double teamed when he was in Phoenix. I mean, they had Devin Booker over there, and at the time, DeAndre Ayton, and they were a championship caliber team. I know they did not win the whole thing, but they went to the NBA Finals when Bridges was the All-NBA defensive player he was on that team. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is I think the Brooklyn Nets or a team that he had to endure when he got traded in that Kevin Durant trade, it really opened him up his game offensively a little bit more. Because guess what? He's not going to have to worry about that with the New York Knicks. He's not going to have to worry about double teams coming his way. when you are handing the ball offensively, because the same thing with Phoenix, there's a lot of weapons on the Knicks roster right now. With Brooklyn, there's nobody else but Bridges to be an offensive threat, which is why defenses were zeroing in on Bridges in Brooklyn, double teaming him. Their primary focus was to shut him down offensively and allow the other players around him on the Nets to beat them, which obviously did not work. Well, guess what, folks? This Knicks team's got weapons everywhere. Bridges does not have to worry about double teams anymore because we have Jalen Brunson, the head of the snake, that's going to be handling all the double teams, handling even the triple teams and all those, blitzes that we saw him suffer in the playoffs. But not only that, we got Julius Randle, who's coming back, who a lot of Knicks fans got to be prepared for to come out here and have a career year. And you have OG Anunoby. So those are three players, not even mentioning Dante and Josh Hart, that Bridges is going to be able to take a back seat and just find his role offensively. We know what he brings to the table on the defensive end. He is going to bring an all-NBA defensive caliber. He is going to be one of the best wing defenders on this Knicks team, and you got to say one of the best because we have OG Anunoby on this Knicks team, which is still mind-boggling to me. But the fact is, from an offensive standpoint, Bridges doesn't have to worry about putting this team on his back like he did in Brooklyn. He can just sit, find his role, camp out in the corner, be a catch-and-shoot type of player. When you got to get a bucket at a mid-range, you have the ball in his hands, come off a high pick and roll, hit their shots from mid-range, be a closer late in the fourth quarter like he's proven to be able to be, allow Jalen Brunson to cook, and he has natural chemistry with these guys already from the Nova days, and I'm pretty sure he is going to find his chemistry with OG and Randall and Mitchell Robinson and the rest of his teammates in due time. I'm super excited to see what he is going to be all about. So let's get into some of Bridges' opening statements and what he had to say when he first became a New York Knick. And his opening statement from today's press conference will be on your screen. So let's take a listen to hear what Bridges had to say himself.
I don't know much to say. I'm excited to be here. Excited to be a Knick. Excited to play MSG. Excited to see my guy Spike courtside.
Excited to see Spike courtside.
To be here. Obviously, just the team we have and Tibbs and everybody.
So he's talking about how he is super excited to be here, first of all. And he also mentions that he wish it wasn't the summer, because if it wasn't the summer, he'd be able to go play basketball. He's upset that he has to wait all the way until, the fall to go play ball. He's ready to go play with this Knicks team immediately. And I love that he is hungry. He's ready to go. Shout out to everybody tuning in live right here on Bleacher Report and on YouTube. So on Bleacher Report, there's no sound in the video. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you guys for letting me know about that. Thank you so much to let me know. I feel like I can just read the quotes, folks. I can just read the quotes for you guys that can't listen to the audio. So basically, he said, excited to be a Knick. Excited to see my guy Spike courtside. It's great to be here. Hate that it's the summer because I've got got to wait a long time to play, which is something that he's obviously very, very excited for. And now this was he mentioned a lot of things regarding his reaction when OG Anunoby got his extension with the Knicks, right? There was a lot of buzz around the OG and the Bridges duo together. The amount of questions that Bridges got about, well, how do you stack up? How do you feel like you stack up against the Boston Celtics? I mean, it's kind of crazy to me of how many times I've heard a reporter ask the question regarding how you match up against the Boston Celtics. And he wanted to just push away. He's like, I just got here. I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to be thinking about the Celtics. I got to figure out how I find my piece, find my stance on this organization before I'm talking about the Boston Celtics. But at the end of the day, I think that he understands why the Knicks brought him. He understands why the New York Knicks were super aggressive and traded all those assets in order to bring in Bridges to this Knicks team. That's why Knicks fans are excited, because we knew what the missing piece of the organization was, and that's exactly what it is all about. He also mentioned that he's a big fan of OG Anunoby's game. From afar, he's always admired OG. He always said that when he was back in Phoenix, he would always talk about OG Anunoby. In Brooklyn, he would talk about OG. And let's be honest with ourselves, Knicks fans. Let's be honest with ourselves. OG and Bridges are the same player. Not the same exact player. They're not clones of themselves, right? But they have very similar traits. They can both go out there and get be a lockdown defender 1 through 5. And that's what Tom Thibodeau is super excited about. You see Tibbs right there? You see Tibbs hugging Bridges? I mean, let's not forget, pretty sure Tom Thibodeau called Bridges one of the best wings in the entire NBA a few years ago, by the way. So you know Tibbs is happy. And we have two players on this Knicks team in OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges that can match up 1 through 5 defensively. Versatility. Are you kidding? That is ridiculous, the fact that we have those two wings. And they're also, both of them, not our primary scorers. That's the difference between us and the Boston Celtics that I've noticed based off of this trade, is the two head of the snakes of the Boston Celtics is Jason Tatum and Brown. Right? We're trying to contain those two guys. Now, both of those two wings are elite defensively. And of course, they have other players they got to mention in Boston, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, and White, and, Pritchard off the bench. They're deep, right? That's why they won the NBA title. But the cool thing about this Knicks team is our two wings that we're talking about in Bridges and OG are not even our number 1 and number 2 options on offense. Think about that. Number 1 option on offense and number 2 option on offense is Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. And then we have two pieces that can go out there and put 20 points up a game if they really wanted to and be a top 5 defender, folks. That is what this Knicks team just pulled off. That's what they just did. And he also was asked about how he's going to fit in with head coach Tom Thibodeau. He said that he sees the jokes all over the place because the jokes are simple. Tom Thibodeau is a old school type of coach that's going to grit and grind you, play you every single minute, play you all 82 games, no rest. You're going to play as much as possible. And if there's anybody in the NBA that can handle that workload, it is Bridges. He has never missed one game in his entire NBA career, his entire college career, and high school. Okay, ridiculous. But the cool thing about what Bridges had to say was that he is totally used to it. People forget that in Phoenix, he mentioned a story. If you guys watch the press conference, you'll hear him say it himself. But Bridges brought up a story that when he was in Phoenix, Monty Williams was the head coach at the time, and they played the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento. And as we know, the Sacramento Kings with De'Aaron Fox, they play fast. They're one of the fastest paced offenses in the NBA, them and the Pacers, I'd say. And Bridges said that he was sick that game, did not even tell the coach that he was sick. And Monty Williams played him 50-plus minutes because I'm assuming they went into overtime in that game. And Bridges wasn't complaining. He was out there. They won the game. He was locking up. He was matched up against DeAndre Fox late in the fourth quarter into overtime. That's just the type of player he is. He's not going to complain. He's ill. He's not himself. But when the coach says you got to get on that court and not come off and defend and be our top-tier guy to lock things down on defense, he will be that type of player. So I think Tom Thibodeau is the happiest person alive right now, watching his new wing become a member of the New York Knicks and now adding him in with OG. I think Thibodeau is going to match up or scheme up like the craziest defensive things we've ever seen Tom Thibodeau do in his entire career with the New York Knicks. You thought that the Knicks were good defensively last year? Do we have any idea the potential of this Knicks team defensively, especially with a healthy Mitchell Robinson? A healthy Mitchell Robinson completes this entire team defensively. And you put in Deuce McBride in off the bench in certain rotations in the clutch. I mean, think of a defensive lineup of Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson. That should low-key be a lineup that the Knicks should go to at times. I know that's without Brunson and Randle, but that's kind of like the defensive lineup. If we're, in the third quarter and say we have a double-digit lead to protect, or we're going into the fourth quarter and Brunson or Randle needs rest, I think the Knicks can get away with having Deuce, Hart, Anunoby, Bridges, and Robinson on the court together. That is a all-NBA defensive lineup. I mean, Deuce McBride is the best Knicks defender from a guard perspective. And then we have two lockdown wings. Josh Hart is a darn good defender as well. And then we have Mitchell Robinson locking things down low. Also, they can run a lineup that's defensive mindset, even with Jalen Brunson running the one, of course. So the Knicks have a lot of abilities here to be creative with their lineups. And I'm really curious to see what the ending 5 is going to be, right? Which Knicks players are going to be finishing off these games in the fourth quarter? It really just comes down to what I've learned from head coach Tom Thibodeau the most from his tenure here with the Knicks so far is he feels the game out, right? It does not matter who starts the game. It does not matter who's on the court for opening tip-off, and it is in the starting 5. It matters of who is in rhythm, who is playing their best basketball in this moment. That is the player that will be finishing off the games. Now, that the reason why I say that is just because a guy like Josh Hart or just because a guy like Dante DiVincenzo is coming in off the bench. That does not mean that they're not going to be on the floor a lot, and they're not going to be on the floor in the clutch. I feel like when we have a lead to protect, that's when you have Josh Hart in the game. When we need to come back and say we're down, that's when you have Dante DiVincenzo in the game because you need some scoring. You need some like volume shooting from Dante. So Tom Thibodeau can get super creative here. Okay, super creative about how they can really maneuver what this Knicks team can do. So, folks, don't forget to hit the like button and hit that subscribe button as well. Shoot me a follow here on Bleacher Report. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Bleacher Report. And we're live on Twitter all at the same time. Knicks fans, today is a phenomenal day to be a Knicks fan because Bridges got introduced as your newest member of the New York Knicks. It is a thing of beauty. If you're just tuning in for the first time and did not see the news as well, that he will be wearing number 1. All right. Now, I thought he may wear, I did have my edit. You saw the jersey swap right there. I did have my graphics guy put up a jersey swap of him wearing number 1, but I thought he was going to go to 25 because that was his jersey number in Villanova. He wore that in Phoenix, and I thought that the Nova Knicks, but hey, I'm not complaining. I absolutely love the number 1 on him. There's a lot of reasons to be excited for this upcoming season, folks, and I feel like let's just talk about the trade package real quick because I see a lot of people, talking about this trade package and talking about, oh, the Knicks gave up way too much. They gave up like too much for Bridges. They overpaid, yada, yada, yada. I am here to tell you guys, do not listen to that narrative. If you think the Knicks gave up too much for Bridges, let me explain to you why the New York Knicks were smart to give up this type of package. Now, I'm going to put the graphic on the screen so you guys can see visually exactly what the New York Knicks gave up for Bridges. So, as you can tell on your screen right here, the New York Knicks gave up, okay, a lot. They gave up a lot. Now, it doesn't have all the draft picks listed on the screen, but they gave up 4 unprotected first-round picks, another first-round pick, a pick swap. So the draft picks is what everybody's holding on to. And the reality is Leon Rose has been stockpiling assets. He's been trading back in the drafts for a long, long time to be able to afford a big-time trade when the opportunity presents itself. And the thing that Leon Rose did that I got to applaud him for is patience. He could have easily went out there and spent all of his assets on players in the last 3 off seasons. And how many times do we hear Knicks fans get impatient and say, what is Leon Rose doing with all these draft picks? When is he going to make the trade? Let's be honest with ourselves. We should be happy we did not trade for Donovan Mitchell. Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz was trying to bring the price all the way up. Leon Rose was smart enough to hold back on his assets and not go after Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's a great player. I got nothing against him. I think he would have helped this Knicks team out tremendously. But at the end of the day, I'm happy the Knicks held on to their draft picks and waited for a guy like Bridges because Bridges completes exactly what the New York Knicks are trying to build here. Another thing about this trade package in terms of the compensation the Knicks had to give up, the Knicks did not include one player in this trade with value. Okay, Bojan Bogdanovic, I'm sorry. There's no value in him. There's 1 year left on his deal. He was included in this deal to match it out salary-wise. There's no value there. Shake Milton and Diakite, 2 players with no value. The reason why I'm saying this, when you include a trade, when you offer a trade with no player, like say hypothetically Deuce McBride was in this trade, then the Knicks would have had to put less draft picks in. So let me ask you this question, Knicks fans. Would you have rather included Deuce McBride in this trade, and that means you give up 3 less first-round picks? So instead of 5 or 6 firsts, you give up 2 or 3 firsts and Deuce? Or do you keep Deuce McBride on this team and you give up more future assets? That's what the Knicks did. Instead of giving up valuable players on the Knicks roster that we're trying to win with right now, we decided to give up our future. And by the way, our future is not dwindled as much as the people are trying to push. That's not the case here, folks. Leon Rose had so many draft picks to be able to use, and guess what? We still have a lot of draft picks. If we wanted to just not trade anybody or not trade any of our draft picks for the future, we still have enough ammunition to go out there and build through the draft, which we don't need to, okay? So the fact that we did not give up any valuable asset. The fact that we did not give up Deuce McBride, we did not have to give up Mitchell Robinson, we did not have to give up Dante DiVincenzo or Josh Hart or any player that's in this rotation that has value. That's why the Knicks had to pay that type of price from a draft pick standpoint. And I am totally okay with that. And we still have a lot of draft picks for the future. So for Nets fans to start, clowning Knicks fans, say, oh, you overpaid. Well, guess what? We could afford it. That's why they were able to do it. We have a window to win it all, folks. Let that sink in, Knicks fans. We actually have a legitimate window to win an NBA title. That window is right now. And what teams do is they wait, they be patient, and they strike on a deal that builds the roster to be competitive to win an NBA title. And if that means you got to sacrifice some parts of the future, then you do it because this is the time. And folks, let's stop pushing the narrative that this Knicks future is done anyway. The Knicks in 2027, 2028, they will be fine. I promise you that. We're going to have Brunson at the end of his deal. Listen, I'm not going to be looking so far into the future. I can't predict anything that happens. But at the end of the day, if you're a team that has an ability to make a deal and they feel like that's the final infinity stone to complete this roster to be an NBA championship type of team, you make that move 10 times out of 10. Those draft picks mean nothing to this Knicks organization. We just got 4 draft picks as well. Let's not forget about that. I'm so happy I just said this because it reminded myself about a key component here. The Knicks did not trade 1 draft pick in this past 2024 draft in the trade for Bridges, which is massive here because now the Knicks have 4 rookies coming into the season that they can develop for the long run. If Tyler Kolek develops into the long-term backup behind Jalen Brunson, if Kevin McCullough Jr. develops into the next Josh Hart when Josh Hart eventually leaves the New York Knicks or retires, if Pacome Dadier becomes a dynamic offensive wing, I mean, I know that's not guaranteed. I know that we got to see what these rookies can do. If Ariel Hookporty can be a dog and provide depth at the center spot. The reason why I'm bringing this up is we have a new influx of young, youthful talent on this Knicks roster, which allowed us to be aggressive and trade our future first-round picks. A lot of them protected. Most of them are going to be mid-teens, late 20 picks. And I know that the Knicks are good at drafting those types of players. But at the end of the day, the trade was super worth it, in my opinion, and you should agree. You should 110% agree. You do this trade over and over and over again. Leon Rose deserves a round of applause for the job that he did, folks, because the fact that he was able to be this patient for Bridges tells you all you need to know. Shout out to Worldwide West as well. He deserves a big shout out. He is behind the scenes working tirelessly right next to the hip of Leon Rose. So Worldwide West deserves some love, deserves some credit as well. But man, I cannot wait to see what this Knicks team looks like. I know that Knicks Summer League is right around the corner on Saturday. I know that there's a lot of buzz around Walker Kessler coming to the Knicks and the asking price is a first-round pick. I think I'm going to make a video on that later today, giving you guys my thoughts of the asking price of a guy like Walker Kessler coming to the Knicks being a first-round pick. I'll talk about that in a future video. Just want to keep highlighting and focusing in on the Mikal Bridges press conference because this was an offseason that Knicks fans felt like it was enough to just run it back. I want to put this in perspective real quick for Knicks fans across the world. The Knicks literally felt like they had enough to go to the Eastern Conference Finals with what we had last year if we were healthy. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. Me as a Knicks fan we have enough assets. We have enough ammunition. We have enough talent. So if we were healthy last year, we were versing Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. You cannot convince me otherwise. The Knicks won Game 5 against the Pacers in round 2. Okay? And without OG and without Robinson, it caught up to us. Okay? We had so many injuries. Josh Hart tweaks his abdomen. I'm not going to make the injury excuse, but let's be honest with ourselves. If OG was out there against the Pacers, even if Randall was out there, if Robinson, if Bogdanovic, you guys know who was injured. This Knicks team, I think, would have went to the Eastern Conference Finals and would have definitely won at least 1 or 2 games, maybe 3 games in the series against the Celtics, not like the Pacers did, who won literally 0, got swept, right? So my perspective going into this offseason was, boy, if we were healthy, we would have been something special. Let's just run it back. Let's re-sign OG. Let's figure out a way to re-sign Hartenstein, which of course did not happen. And we're good. We'll go after the potential NBA title with this team. But Leon Rose was like, yeah, you think you want to run it back with just this team? Watch this. I have another addition that's going to take us from here to all the way beyond our comprehension, and that's adding Bridges, bro. You add Bridges to this team, you replace Bogdanovich with Bridges. That is what just takes the Knicks organization and Knicks fans to new heights. That's what the Leon Rose plan was. That's why they are super excited. The chemistry is going to be phenomenal. The defensive versatility is going to be ridiculous. Not to mention the offensive chemistry. I mean, I've never been more impressed with my New York Knicks than I was this past season, just like all of us watching the Knicks games. But one in particular, asset or one in particular part of the Knicks season last year that I appreciated so much, which is something that Knicks fans have not seen in years and years and years and years, is our offensive system and unselfishness. Bro, I remember growing up, watching the San Antonio Spurs, for example, with Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Tim Duncan and those boys when they were winning the titles. And the ball movement was just ridiculous. I was like, wow, they moved the ball so well. Greg Popovich is a genius. And then we saw the Golden State Warriors with Steve Kerr. We saw their ball movement there. Steph Curry, the off-ball movement as well with Klay Thompson. I always admired it as a Knicks fan. I'm like, why can't my Knicks do this? Why can't we simply move the ball offensively and find the open shooter and move the ball and get, move off the ball? I'm talking about just a fluid offense. This past season, I was so impressed with the offense, and it starts with Jalen Brunson. And also, I got to give a shout out to Dante DiVincenzo because he is our version of Klay Thompson. He moves without the ball super efficiently. The backdoor cuts, of course, the sharp shooting ability, breaking the Knicks franchise record for three-pointers in a season. Okay, and then our Draymond Green is Josh Hart. I mean, the offensive fluidity and the unselfishness and the ball movement. I was sitting there throughout this entire season like, wow, we finally did it. I remember being a young Knicks. I'm still young. I mean, I'm 26 years old, but you're talking about over a decade ago. I'm like a young teenager watching these good teams in the playoffs every year, and I'm thinking to myself, even when we were good with Melo, like, it didn't feel like we had good ball movement, right? Melo will get the ball, be isolation, and then be like, Jose Calderon as the point guard? I mean, what are we even talking about, right? So it's like this past season was the first time I took a step back a little bit and remembered, wow, I always wanted a Knicks team where I can look at an offense and see the unselfishness and the kind of like sacrifice and the ability to make the proper rim reads. And when there's a double team that comes, you make the right pass. Like, that is something I'm not taking for granted as a Knicks fan, and Knicks fans should not as well, because I'm not forgetting where we came from. I'm not forgetting the misery. I mean, I saw a post. I'll have to put it on the screen for you guys so you know what I'm talking about. I saw a post where it was like, here it is right here. I mean, on this day in 2016, this makes me sick to my stomach, just to give you guys an idea where we came from. Look at this. I mean, what are we even looking at, folks? Okay, what are we even looking at? I'm going to put it on the screen on YouTube now. The Knicks in 2016, this was our offseason. Phil Jackson landing Courtney Lee, Jennings, and Joakim Noah. And that was our offseason. And look at Phil Jackson's face. He's like, yeah, look what I just did. I mean, that's who we had in charge. That's what we had in charge. And we, as Knicks fans, were we excited for this? I mean, that's what the Knicks used to do in the offseason. Sign veterans that were washed up, past their prime, already peaked on other organizations, and we were the sucker organization to give them the payday that they don't deserve. Joakim Noah, for example. Okay, so I just had to bring that up to remind Knicks fans where we're coming from. That was 8 years ago. Excuse me. Yeah, that was 8 years ago, 2016. Now we have Bridges. Now we have Jalen Brunson, and it starts with Leon Rose, and I also got to give a shout out to Dolan. I don't think enough people are giving Dolan some credit here. He's the one who hired Leon Rose. That's what I do. All right, the only credit I give Dolan, you hire Leon Rose, you step back, you let him do his job. Thank you, Dolan. You finally found the right guy, because let's be honest with ourselves. Dolan was the one who hired Phil Jackson. It was a mistake. Okay? And all the other past head coaches and all the other past, front office was all mistakes from Dolan. He finally hit it with Leon Rose. So shout out to that. I got to give credit where it's deserved. So, folks, Mikal Bridges is officially a New York Knick. He'll be wearing number 1. This was my biggest takeaways from the press conference. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. And of course, shoot me a follow on Bleacher Report at Richie Malora. I go live here as much as I possibly can on the Bleacher Report app. I appreciate you guys big time for tuning in. My name is Richie from Knicks Media. Let's go Knicks, okay? Let's go Knicks. I'll see you guys in the next show. My name is Richie. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.